Got it? Oh,
See if I'm
okay,
up live.
okay.
You tell me if I'm up live.
I'm looking right now.
And I think I am.
Okay. Yep,
If you,
yep, you're live.
all right, guys, I'm here now. I'm not seeing the comments though. So let me just see if I can figure out a way. Hi, everybody. Facebook is wanting me to do something new. And I don't like to do something new because it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks, right? Uh, but I'm going to let people have a chance. It's only 12:58. Whoops. I was calling my guest a little too soon. All right. This is like a whole new setup here that's in front of my eyes. See, every morning when I'm with you guys, I can kind of use this as a mirror and figure out how my hair is looking. Somebody say hi. I want to see what's going to happen. So I'm not seeing comments. So um, I'm going to count on people in my office to watch them. Somebody from my office, you want to tell me if you're live here and if we have people live? Oh, I just love technology. All right, so I've got like 55 people live. So somebody in my office can just confirm that you are standing by to send me questions. Whoops. I will call you in just a moment, okay? All right. That's my guest for today. All right, there's 77 of you here. And you're saying hi, but I'm not seeing where you're from and all that. So I'm saying hi everyone. And I'll figure out this new Facebook Live has changed their whole setup. Anyway, what is it? It's Monday morning. Did you guys have a good weekend? I cleaned. So Saturday was my anniversary, and any of you who are following me in here all the time, you know it was my wedding anniversary. So, but my husband's in Florida at our house down there, and with my son, they were down there on a guy's weekend, and they're still there. They're not going to get on an airplane right at this moment. And it's a 24-hour drive, and they don't want to stop and stay at some hotel somewhere. So I said, I'm going to be giving you your anniversary gift this entire weekend. I'm going to clean out closets. I'm going to organize because he's like he got a little bit of OCD from his mom. Like when he brings something home, when he buys a new, ladies, just imagine us doing this. When he buys something new, like a couple new shirts or jacket or sweater or something, he goes in his closet, which is perfect. Everything's perfect. And he looks for something that he should take out because he hasn't worn it for a while so he can put something new in. What do? Let's cram it in there and just see how many things can actually hang on this one rack. So I did a little cleaning in my closet and that got me going. I cleaned out my coat closet. I cleaned out all the place like in my pantry where I keep all my napkins and placemats and everything. And I cleaned out. I just did so much cleaning on. I literally nonstop cleaned from like 10 o'clock a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Maybe even about 1 a.m. Then yesterday, as I always go and look for pictures for you guys, because I'm always showing you pictures, I've come to find just how screwed up all of my files are. So proof, that's a Band-Aid from one paper cut, which I'm surprised I only got one paper cut. I threw away so much stuff and relabeled and put stuff in. And you have to wrap your brain around it when you are putting photographs in the files from 40 years of a career. So like the celebrities were all fine. I just, and they were totally not alphabetized. Whoever did this was whichever assistant at whatever time wasn't very good at organizing by actual alphabet. But if you could see around me, you would see that there are little piles. I'm not done, but I got a lot done. So, but a lot of people are in their homes and they're not used to being I talked to a friend of mine. She said, I'm about to go crazy. I don't ever have her husband and her two daughters who are in college, but of course now they're back home. She said, I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think of is, what am I going to cook for this bunch of people who are not even going to say thank you? And so sometimes it is the little things, and that one little question, what's for dinner, can just like set you off. So I thought that we should talk today about how to just bring the tension down in the home, and what happens and why there are so many different I don't see any questions yet, and why there are so many blow-ups, and how you can stop that from happening, even if it's just the little tiny things, or it's not necessarily couples. It could sometimes be with the kids, or you fight over the kids. One thinks that something is worthy of punishing them. Like I walked in my room the other night. One of my daughters wasn't terribly nice to me, and so it hurt my feelings. And I thought, well, gee, should I maybe take her phone away from her? And then I thought about it. I thought, nah, that little outburst had nothing to do with me. It wasn't about me. It was about her. And right at the moment, you got to pick your battles. But I thought it would be worthy of us to hear from a professional who's talking to people and understands what's going on. And so I want you to be with me today as I call Pripo Teplitsky. He's a clinical mental health counselor who specializes in couples therapy. So he sees that people are individually, everyone feeling such increased anxiety, which is kind of a feeling of loss of control and the fear of the unknown, because nobody knows when things are going to go back to normal. That what happens is when we are feeling that way, we don't tend to listen well. And we have a lack of empathy. And I never thought about it that way. So couples are spiraling out of control, usually for little things, just dumb things. The shoes are left in the hallway. Oh, great. You loaded the dishwasher. You did it the wrong way. You squeezed the toothpaste the wrong way. You left the seat on the toilet up. It's just, silly little things often. So let's call Pripo. Here we go. FaceTime. Sue Jeffries. Very funny, Sue. You want to know what's for dinner. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Pripo. Good to see you.
You too, Joan.
I want you to say hello to all the nice ladies in my Facebook. Let's see, I'm going to put you right here. This is going to be your place to live. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody.
All right. You have a job that probably none of us would want to have, and that's talking to people with anxiety, couples who are fighting. You're wrong. No, she's wrong. But especially right now with everything that's been going on. And we're all seeing the news stories about, an uptick in divorce requests. And, this 24/7 is kind of wearing thin. So what are you finding? First of all, are the couples that are coming to you couples that regularly fight?
I think that the couples that are coming to me are coming from a variety of reasons. They have disconnection, communication issues, they have connection issues. But right now, as you're saying, it's exacerbated because of the amount of stress and anxiety and the unknown. We don't have control right now. And when we don't have control, our stress level really gets up. So it's interesting when you mention about the divorce rates. I was talking to a divorce attorney, and usually divorce filings are increased after the Christmas holiday and after summer holidays.
Really?
When people are spending more time together.
Yeah, and getting at each other's throats.
Exactly. So we have no idea what this is going to be after this.
Wow. Kristen Carell wrote, I know I've had to go into my closet a few times to voice my concerns. I can just picture her in there. Ah!
Yeah.
But why? I mean, why now? Because I love what you when you told us that when people are anxious, which a lot of people are just anxious, that
Right.
we kind of change the way we're feeling and the perspective that we have. What changes about us that makes like a little stupid thing blow up into a big thing?
Well, when we're not self-soothing ourselves, and
What does that mean?
That means calming our own nervous system, and we're out of routine. When people aren't exercising regularly, when they're not in routine and they know where they're going, they know that their jobs are secure, they know how to be with people. Right now, we don't know how to be with people. We're staying very much in distance from people. So when that gets out of norm, then when people feel out of control, they have a really hard time communicating well. We don't listen well. We start speaking and talking a lot more. So the tools that we normally might have are kind of going out the door in some way. And I think that one reason why people are ramping up in their complaining or their criticism is that they have to have a place to express their fears. And so what I tell couples to do is allow that to happen. People process fears and anxiety very differently. Everybody does it differently. So it might be that one person just needs to vent, just needs to talk. And usually, let's say if that is the woman in the relationship, I tell men, don't try to fix it. Just listen. That adage, don't just stand there, do something. I tell men, don't just do something, just stay there. Just stay, right? Just validate and acknowledge what you hear. And it has nothing to do with whether you agree upon it or not.
Oh,
Just
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another. Jessica Dempsey says she's using her bathroom to hide. But isn't that kind of true that men might lash out and yell, but women tend to retreat?
Yeah, I think men are more comfortable in society to express anger, and I think women aren't as comfortable in society to express their anger. That's not encouraged. So a lot of times it comes out more passive-aggressively in relationships. Women may stew and be a little more silent, and then it might come out, especially if they don't feel that their partner is hearing them and seeing them. And I think that's the big thing is women start to exacerbate sometimes in yelling to be heard. And it's not because the volume, it's just that they don't feel that their men are hearing what they're saying.
I can just picture what you're saying. It's interesting because in like pre-interviewing you tended to say, I think, if I remember correctly, that you find men have more anxiety. And yet then I saw that night on the news that women are the ones that are exhibiting more anxiety as far in terms of couples.
Well, I think that men exhibit a feeling of when they can't perform, when they can't provide. And right now, that's on the increase, right? People are losing their jobs. Men aren't able to provide. They're not able to protect their family from an external threat. And I think when that happens, that exacerbates a man's anxiety. I think for women, when the anxiety increases, it's because of fear and being deprived. And right now, if couples aren't connecting well, women feel deprived of that connection. And when they feel deprived of a connection, they exacerbate. When they exacerbate, men feel inadequate to provide satisfaction and happiness.
Oh my gosh, you're like, right. I think all of us can sense that because we've all had that at times, in our marriages. Deborah Moore Robertson wants to know, once you acknowledge your fears, then what? What do you do? And should you sit down and say, I just really need to talk about this because it's like driving me crazy. Will you just listen to me so I can just talk about my fears? How do you do that?
I think that's great. I think it's great to give each a job description. I just want you to listen right now. Or I want you to actually validate and reflect back what I said. Or I would like your opinion. I think it's good for people to ask, and also maybe for the listener to ask, hey, what do you need from me right now? Do you need me to just listen? Do you need me to validate or reflect back? Do you want me to help you solve the issue? So I think that that's good to get that clarity of what people need and to set a time to do that. right now we're on our phones constantly, we're looking at news constantly, and people are, let's say, intruding on each other's private space right now. It's really good to say, hey, can we talk at 7 o'clock? I have some things that I feel stressful about. Are you just willing to listen? So that both people can really prepare for that time and be really present with one another.
Worst case, of course, is when it becomes, a domestic abuse situation. Sharon Sneering mentions how many people are dealing with domestic violence during this time and they can't get out. And because women remain silent. And I heard earlier from a Janelle Persons. She worked her whole life in domestic abuse. She's retired now. And she said it's usually the dumb, small things that can trigger a violent physical abuse assault. Everyone needs to take a deep breath and take a step back. So that's interesting. Do you recommend that if you just get all riled up to just like go in another room and like take a breath and settle yourself down?
Absolutely. Like that is one of the best things to do, is to self-soothe. And usually we need to self-soothe on our own, not with our partner around. And self-soothing means that you work the body. You had Nick Ortner on your show last week.
Yeah.
Tapping is a great thing to do to bring the anxiety down. I teach that to my clients, of tapping while you're talking your self-talk. So you're bringing your cognitive part down as well as your body. And so we need to work through the body, because the emotions aren't floating out here. They're in the body. For instance, when we get really stressful or shocked, we do this. We say, oh my gosh. Well, when we put our hand on our forehead, that's naturally bringing the blood flow to the front part of the brain that we have rational thought. So human beings do this naturally. I tell clients, do this on your own to soothe yourself. It feels good to soothe. So people need to do that on their own so that they can come back into the conversation from a balanced standpoint, not where it's just flared up, because cortisol levels, those stress hormones, can stay in the body. We call that a dump of cortisol. Stays in the body for at least 20 minutes.
Ooh.
So you have to wait until it dissipates. Otherwise, it's going to flare up like a match.
So go read a book or do something. I used the tapping last night. I just couldn't get to sleep because I had like so many things I was thinking about. And I used the tapping, and it kind of like just makes you stop having that internal conversation. Another thing that you talk about is that you shouldn't criticize. We have a tendency to criticize the person when what we really should be criticizing is the behavior. I know my husband always says, hate the sin, love the sinner.
Yes, right, yeah. I think there's a big difference between a complaint and a criticism. A complaint goes after the behavior. It could be an example of, yesterday when you said that you were going to do the dishes and you didn't, I felt sad and I felt disappointed. Would you please do that next time? That's a behavior. But a criticism is going after the personhood. You are so irresponsible. You didn't do what I said. I can't rely on you, right? When we go after the criticism, then people really feel attacked. They feel, their anxiety level goes up, and they protect themselves. When we protect ourselves, we go back and forth and blame. And that's not going to help a situation at all, to go back and forth and be defensive.
Linda Kadloff Richmond says we should drop the phones and the TV for a few minutes. And of course, that's just filled with bad news. And try just having a real conversation. That's true. Whenever there's some big disaster, people tend to just be glued to the TV. Whether I remember after John F. Kennedy Jr. crashed, and I just watched the TV for a few days because you just can't believe something happened. And here it's gone on for almost 6 weeks. So, there also might just be, we talked about it here in our house. There's 6 of us here, and we said, here we are all trapped inside together, and yet we hardly see each other because everyone's gone off to their rooms doing their own thing. Maybe there's a feeling of disconnect, especially if couples have been fighting a little bit.
That's right. Yeah. And I think you said that too. I'm experiencing that when I'm working with couples right now, that they said even adult children are coming back to live at home. Of course, kids are there now because of school, but they're in their rooms, they're doing their separate things, and a lot of times there's not connection that's happening. And just because you're in the same room looking on your own phones, that's not connection at all. So I think that is so important, what that listener said about putting down the phones and intentionally making the time to talk to one another, to maybe look at past photos of your life that brought you joy. You want to increase the amount of gratitude and appreciation at a time where there's anxiety. Appreciation, the power of appreciation is, I've been married 25 years. I've been doing this work over 17 years. It is the most powerful thing in bringing couples in connection. It does everything from a physiological sense to actually what I consider creating a couple immune system. You know, right now, Joan, we're talked about feed the healthy immune system. We need to feed our couple's immune system. And to me, the appreciation is the vitamins of an immune system. Because when you have a disconnection, like an argument, you don't want to go after the disease of that, right? You don't, instead of going after that disagreement, you want the healthy immune system that's fed with appreciation and positive regard and kindness to be able to take that where you can drop that disconnection faster, and then you'll just come back in connection because you know connection. So I think it's so important that people really realize to feed that. I do little exercises. I've done this many years, but I'll sit on the sofa. My wife is in the kitchen, and I'll zap her out, I call it. I picture what my life is without her. If she was no longer in my life, and I'll feel it. I'll let it well up. I'll let my feelings feel what my life is. Maybe tear up. After a few minutes, I get my butt off the sofa, and I go give her a hug. And when I do that, she always says, you were just zapping me out, weren't you?
I love that, though. That's a great exercise. I can't imagine my life without my husband.
Right.
It would be awful.
Right. And now people have to do that. We are in that terms with this crisis of that pandemic, of that possibility.
Wow.
So it's a wonderful time to step up to the preciousness of what we have in our life in order to really be more patient, be more forgiving, to give more benefit of the doubt to our partners and our kids. And plus, that's a wonderful tool for parents to actually model for kids.
Yes.
That exchange of appreciation.
Interestingly, my husband, who's not with me, I thought he would come on and say, the way not to fight is just not to be in the same state. But he didn't. He always has such a grounded, perfect answer. He says, it's best not to confront at the point of struggle. Better to revisit the issue during a calmer moment. And boy, is he right on that one. Because if you, at the moment, and I always think about this in terms of my kids, because teenagers are so good at rolling their eyes like you're the biggest idiot, most annoying person in the entire world. And you can get your feelings hurt. And if you answer right then, it's never a good thing. I remember my mom always used to say, it's not usually the one who starts the fight that gets in trouble, but the response usually is the match that you throw on the fire.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell a lot of couples, don't focus on what you don't like, what your partner says. Focus more on your response to what you don't like, because your response is going to be indicative to the response that you get back. So you have influence about the change of your partner only on your response back. So it's much better to focus on how do I want to respond back to getting a criticism or getting blame. And by the way, that's a wise thing that your husband said. And congratulations for your 20th wedding anniversary that you put out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so knowing that when couples do know that with each other and they can know that they will come back to it, that's the thing. I hear from couples, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. But sometimes later never comes. Later needs to come. So when you take a withdrawal and say, I don't want to talk about this right now, it's good to say when you will.
I'll come
at 7 o'clock. Because if I come back at 7 o'clock, then you will trust me the next time I need to withdraw, because I come back when I say I will.
And usually women will not come back because they have more of a tendency just to hold it in and be upset or be a martyr or whatever. So, that's probably one of our biggest struggles, right, as women, is that we just tend to not want to, we're kind of non-confrontational, at least some of us.
Right. Yeah. And that's why it's really good that I help women give a voice to it. It's really important that they give a voice, and maybe it's not going to hit the bullseye right away, but when couples start to find what their groove is about how to be able to express emotions, because once an emotion is expressed, it gets to move when it's felt. What I mean by move, like in the body, if you're sad, Joan, and I see it, and I look at you and I say, wow, I see that you're sad, probably you're going to tear up after that, because you just given permission to feel your feelings. And I think that's why it's so important that couples practice to validate and acknowledge their feelings. I tell men, hey, if your wife says the sky's green, ask her what shade of green is it. Don't say we're going to look it up in Wikipedia and there's no green sky here. She sees a green sky, there's a green sky. She's sad, she's sad. So validate and goes a long way.
I think about, there's a Brian Luke Seward who's written a lot of books that, and he wrote one called Stress is Desserts Spelled Backwards. And I was fortunate enough to be able to write the foreword to that book. But basically, just like when you have a ton of sugar, ice cream, and all this stuff, and you go, whoa, the same way something happens and you all of a sudden realize that you're upset, mad, whatever it is, anxious, you can go down that rabbit hole the same way you go up. And if you can really embrace that, and I have worked on it, and I've found myself, sometimes I'll just feel like, and then I'll say, wait a second, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to do that to my immune system. If you can try that and keep trying it and stop yourself from going down the rabbit hole, because in the end, you're the one that stresses out your own emotions.
That's right. Yeah. And I like to even take it a step further, and I tell people, actually visualize yourself how you want to respond or behave from a past situation that you didn't respond well. So almost like going back and replaying an old movie from the last conflict, and maybe that point where you got activated, take a breath, and now see yourself say something or do something that's a little bit better, and now play that new movie over and over and over in your mind. We're reprogramming an automatic response. So our body will actually believe that's how we acted. So the next time a situation comes up that's similar, we're going to have a split-second choice: old behavior and new behavior. So that's a good way to reprogram and train ourselves to actually do it differently.
It's interesting, Pripo, we have so many people saying, thank you for having this conversation. It's really helping a lot. I have one person, Gail Ruth, says her husband really doesn't like having a talk hanging over his head. So how does she encourage putting off the talk until later?
Yeah. Well, one that we talked about before is to self-soothe herself, right? To make sure that she's not coming all the time and pursuing that in a nagging kind of way. If the talk, a lot of times women here say to men, we need to talk. We need to talk. And instantly a man feels like, what did I do wrong? Right? What did I do wrong? Instead of, I really want to get some understanding with you. I really want to connect with you through this understanding, because that's what conflict is. The reason why we have conflict is just to get an understanding. So, and I think that that's what a lot of people avoid conflict because they don't do it well. They don't know how to go from harmony to disharmony to actually repair, so you go deeper into harmony after conflict. It's to get to the bottom, to be understood by each other. And if you have that experience more, sure, the conflict's not going to be totally comfortable, but you know that you're going to grow together throughout this.
You know, it's interesting. I just came out with a book. Why did I come into this room? It's all about women and aging, but I talk about non-reactive behavior in the book. It's not just about all the things that happen to women, like hot flashes, etc., but it's also how to become a better person, in that you understand yourself and you understand that it's not usually what we see in life, it's how we react to what we see in life. But non-reactive behavior, just stopping yourself and not allowing yourself to do that, that's an art. That has to be practiced.
Yeah, it does. It is practice. And it's not hitting the bullseye all the time. But when you do it 1 out of 3 times, 2 out of 7 times, that's growth. You know, I was a baseball player growing up, and if you fail 7 out of 10 times in baseball, you're a multi-millionaire. So it's not, people need to get away from perfection, because perfection is the seeds of shame. And so we need to understand that, yes, if we just practice it and we practice things that we know we want to be a better person, because I believe that, for me at least, I can only be the kind of person I am because I'm in relationship. It really, really stretches me. I understand all the sages and gurus that go up in the mountain and they meditate for 40 years and they get enlightenment. But for me, come down and have a family and a partner, then I'll read your book.
And kids.
Exactly. And then that's the true test of how we are going to respond.
Well, we certainly have a lot of time in our hands, all of us here, to practice some of the really great advice that you just gave us. Pripo, thank you so much.
And I just want to mention also, Joan, I have a podcast out called Relationships.
Oh, yeah.
It's a weekly podcast that I put out. I have about 90 episodes, and it addresses a lot of things that we talked about: managing conflict, the art of apology, the listening. And I have monologues as well as conversations. And right now, my wife and I are doing the pandemic series together, about 5 episodes so far, in our stories and what we're going through. So I think it's free subscription. I think it would be a wonderful adjunct to help people along at this time.
And where can they find that?
You can find it on all the podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play. Yeah.
All right. Pripo, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Joan, and I really appreciate that Laura put us together.
Yes.
And like what she said to you about that you got her to dress, you got me to shave today for my wife.
We got you to shave. All right. Thank you so much. We all thank you. That was great, wasn't it? I mean, even if you're not like, really fighting, it's just the idea of how you can be a better person, not so reactive. Show your book so we see what it looks like. I'm guessing that actually came from someone in my office, but okay, fine. Shameless plug of the day. Why did I come into this room? And now you can get it everywhere on Amazon, etc. So it looks like a lot of you, whether you are, and I don't know if you were with me at the beginning, but for some reason, Facebook Live is trying to make us do it a new way. So I had a hard time getting onto it here. It probably would have been easy on my phone, but I wasn't seeing all the comments. So everybody in my office has been texting me everyone's comments, and I hope that I got to all of them. Randy and Sally Frazier, you say thank you both for giving everyone such important tools. And we have here a lot of people that are saying just thank you so much for just helping us through this. And for Clara Wenman, hi from Sweden. Always good to have you with us from Sweden. And Clara Wengman also says hello from Sweden. I'm assuming you guys know each other. Marilyn Safiano from Decatur, Alabama. Xander Teplitsky, obviously, has got to be relation. Calling in from the Netherlands, or commenting in from the Netherlands. Brenda Hidalgo from Buffalo, New York. Michelle Pardo from Cape May, New Jersey. Pam Sidlow from Naperville, Illinois. Jean Rosalia from Virginia. Janet Silverman from Milwaukee. Wisconsin. So I just wanted to get a few of you out there, your names, because I appreciate you guys tuning in each day. And tomorrow, I'm trying to remember what I'm doing tomorrow. I think tomorrow is, I'm going to be talking to Dottie Herman. And let me tell you something. Dottie Herman is like a powerhouse. She's in real estate, and I'm dying to know, like, what's happening to our house prices, what's going to happen. And one thing I'm going to really be interested in finding out about is that there's been this mass exodus of people from big cities, big time, from New York City, and they've all had to leave, and they've all had to have somewhere to go. So there's been this huge uptick in rentals, and they've been like, the rental market outside of New York City in surrounding areas and surrounding states has just like gone through the roof. And I guess so have the prices, as everybody out there started figuring it out. Like out in the Hamptons, which is one of the playrooms of New York City, there's no property left, I guess, to rent. So it'll be interesting tomorrow to, and she's also the CEO of Douglas Elliman. That's the largest real estate company in New York. I think it's the third largest in the whole United States. And like she as she got successful, bought one company, then she'd go and buy another one, and everyone said, you're never going to make it. It's not you. And then she bought Douglas Elliman with a friend. She's truly probably the most powerful woman in real estate. I figure if you're going to ask a few questions, why not just go to the top and ask the person at the top. So I'm excited. She also has a radio show. So I'm excited to, I think it's called Eye on Real Estate. So I'm excited to talk to her. If you have questions that you want to ask about what's going to happen, like my daughter, Sarah, she was supposed to move here in April, but they couldn't come and look at apartments to buy. And so now they're just kind of in limbo land. They don't know when they're assuming maybe July or August. And what happened to all the prices of all those condos and co-ops in New York City? Did they go down because of this? Or people just sitting on the properties? And what's going to happen with all the people out there who, because they haven't had an income, can't pay their mortgage and lose their house? Like, are we going to have a ton of people that just are not homeowners anymore? And if so, then what does that do to the housing market? Anyway, as you can tell, I've got lots of questions. All right, everybody have a good day. And we'll see if I can figure out how to end this. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Found it.